The notification on my phone said I had a new voicemail from my father's estate attorney. I was standing in the frozen foods aisle of Walmart when I listened to it, and that's when my world tilted sideways. Mr. Thompson, this is Gerald Whitmore calling about your father's estate. I need to discuss some urgent matters regarding the inheritance distribution. Please contact me as soon as possible. There are complications we need to address immediately. My father had died 3 weeks ago. Heart attack at 62. We weren't close. He'd been a hard man, built his construction company from nothing, remarried after Mom died, and kept me at arm's length for most of my adult life. Still, I'd expected maybe a token inheritance. Nothing life-changing. What I didn't expect was the number Gerald quoted when I called him back from my car. $4.7 million. I sat there in the parking lot, engine running, trying to process it. Dad's company had been more successful than I'd realized. The second wife, Donna, had died 2 years before him, and apparently, I was the sole beneficiary. There's a condition, Gerald said. Your father was very specific. The funds are to be distributed to you personally, not to any joint accounts. He wanted to ensure you had independent financial security. My hands were shaking when I hung up. $4.7 million. Bethany and I had been scraping by on my warehouse supervisor's salary and her part-time bookkeeping job. We had a 7-year-old daughter, Emma. We lived paycheck to paycheck in a rental house with a leaky roof. This money would change everything. I should have gone straight home to tell her. Instead, something made me stop at the bank first. Some instinct I couldn't name. I opened a personal account. Just for the inheritance, I told myself. I'd tell Bethany tonight, and we'd figure out together how to use it. College fund for Emma. A real house. Maybe I could finally start that cabinet-making business I'd always dreamed about. But when I got home at 6:30 that evening, Bethany wasn't there. Emma was at her grandmother's. Bethany's mom took her every Wednesday. The house was empty. Bethany's car was gone, which was odd because she'd said she was working from home today. I checked my phone. No messages. I heated up leftover pizza and sat at our scratched kitchen table, refreshing my email to watch for the estate transfer confirmation. The money would hit my new account within 48 hours. Bethany came home at 8:15. Where were you? I asked, keeping my tone light. Grocery shopping. She set down a single bag containing milk and bread. 2 hours for milk and bread. Oh, okay. I wanted to tell her about the inheritance. The words were right there, but something in her expression stopped me. A tightness around her eyes. A distraction. I'm exhausted, she said. I'm going to take a bath and go to bed early. She disappeared into the bathroom before I could respond. I sat there, staring at my phone, at the email from Gerald confirming the transfer. $4.7 million, and my wife had just lied to me about grocery shopping. The next morning, Thursday, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work. I told Bethany I was going to the doctor for that persistent cough I'd been having. She barely looked up from her coffee. After she left for her bookkeeping job at 10, I followed her. I'm not proud of it. But that instinct, the same one that made me open a separate account, was screaming now. She drove to the Marriott on Highway 40, parked, went inside. I waited 15 minutes, then followed. Asked the front desk if they'd seen a woman matching her description. Blonde, 5'6", wearing a blue jacket. The young clerk, bless his helpful soul, said, "Oh, you mean the lady who meets Mr. Patterson? They're in the restaurant." The restaurant was called Riverside Grill, all dark wood and ambient lighting. I spotted them in a corner booth. Bethany and a man I'd never seen before. Mid-40s, expensive suit, wedding ring, catching the light as he reached across the table to hold my wife's hand. They weren't eating. They were talking, heads close together, and the way she smiled at him. I hadn't seen her smile like that at me in years. I left before they saw me. Sat in my truck in the parking lot, breathing hard. By the time Bethany came out an hour later, kissed him goodbye in the parking lot. Actually kissed him, nothing ambiguous about it. I'd made several decisions. First, she would never know about the inheritance. Second, I was going to find out exactly what was happening. Third, whatever this was, whoever this man was, I was going to handle it smart. I followed the man's Mercedes to a commercial real estate office. Watched him go inside a building with Patterson and Associates on the glass. Took photos of everything. That night, Bethany asked how the doctor's appointment went. Just a virus, I said. Should clear up on its own. Good. She kissed my cheek, the same lips that had kissed him. I'm meeting Julie for dinner tomorrow night. Girls' night. Sounds fun, I said. Friday morning, the inheritance cleared. $4,700,000 sat in an account with only my name on it. And I started planning. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, staring at that recovered voice message on the screen. The timestamp showed it had been sent 4 days ago, Tuesday afternoon. The same day I'd gotten the call from Gerald Whitmore about the inheritance. He doesn't suspect anything. See you tomorrow. Her voice was lighter than when she spoke to me, almost playful. The way she used to sound years ago, before Emma was born, before the bills piled up and conversations became lists of things we couldn't afford. I played it 3 more times. The Messenger app had glitched during an update, showing the file for maybe 10 seconds before it disappeared again. Just long enough for me to screenshot the metadata and use a recovery tool I downloaded. The message itself had been deleted from both ends. She'd made sure of that. But nothing really disappears. I checked the date again. Tuesday. Which meant tomorrow was Wednesday. 3 days ago. I pulled up my mental calendar trying to remember Wednesday. I'd worked a full shift. Came home around 6:30. Bethany had been there, making spaghetti. Emma had shown me a drawing from school. We'd eaten dinner. Watched half an hour of television. Normal. Completely normal. Except Bethany had said she needed to run to the pharmacy around 8. Said Emma needed children's Tylenol. She'd been gone for an hour and 15 minutes. For children's Tylenol. I started the truck. The bank statement from my new account was still in the glove compartment, hidden under the vehicle registration. $4.7 million, sitting there while my wife bought children's Tylenol for an hour and 15 minutes. The pharmacy was 10 minutes away. Round trip, 20 minutes. Even with a line, 30 minutes maximum. I drove home on autopilot, my hands steady on the wheel, my mind running through every evening of the past few weeks. How many times had she gone to the pharmacy, the grocery store, her mother's house? How many times had I sat on the couch with Emma, watching cartoons while Bethany was somewhere else doing something I'd never suspected? The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I checked my watch. 7:15. Bethany's shift at the accounting office ended at 5 on Fridays. She should have been home an hour ago. I unlocked the front door and went straight to the kitchen table where I'd left my laptop that morning. Opened it. The screen came to life, still showing the browser tabs from my earlier research on Patterson and Associates. I pulled up the Messenger app on my laptop and logged in. The voice message wasn't there. She deleted it too thoroughly for it to show on other devices. But the recovery tool had saved it to my phone's local storage. I forwarded it to my email, then to a cloud storage account I'd created that morning. 3 copies, 3 different places. Then I went through her other messages. Most were mundane. Her mother asking about Emma's soccer schedule. A friend named Julie confirming lunch plans from 2 weeks ago, so Julie was real, at least. A group chat with other parents from Emma's school about an upcoming field trip. Nothing from Patterson, nothing from any number I didn't recognize. She was careful. But the voice message existed, which meant at some point she'd gotten sloppy or comfortable. Comfortable enough to send a voice message instead of typing it out. Comfortable enough to think deleting it was sufficient. I heard a car door outside. Through the kitchen window, I watched Bethany walk up the driveway, her purse over one shoulder, her phone in her hand. She was smiling at the screen, typing something. Still smiling as she reached the front door. The smile disappeared the moment she walked inside and saw me sitting at the kitchen table. "Hey," she said. "Didn't know you'd be home early." "I'm not early. It's 7:15. "Right. Lost track of time." She set her purse on the counter. "Have you eaten? I can make something quick." "Where were you?" She turned, her expression carefully neutral. "Work ran late. Jerry needed help closing out the month-end reports." Jerry, her boss, 60 years old, married 40 years, 5 grandchildren. I'd met him twice at office parties. On a Friday? End of the month. She opened the refrigerator, her back to me. "You know how it gets." I did know. I'd heard about month-end closing dozens of times. It happened the last week of every month, usually Tuesday through Thursday. Never on Friday, never after 5 o'clock. "You should call Jerry," I said. She paused, her hand on a carton of eggs. "What?" "To thank him for the extra hours. Must be nice getting overtime." "It's salary, not hourly, you know that." She pulled out the eggs, set them on the counter. "Why are you being weird?" "I'm not being weird, just making conversation." She cracked 2 eggs into a pan, her movements precise. The kitchen filled with the sound of butter sizzling. "Emma's at my mom's. I'll pick her up after dinner." "When did you drop her off?" "This morning, before school. Mom wanted to take her to that new trampoline place after." I watched her cook. She was wearing dark jeans and a cream-colored blouse I'd never seen before. New, probably. Her hair was different too, styled, not just pulled back in the ponytail she usually wore. "Nice blouse," I said. "This? Had it forever." "I don't remember it." "Well, I have it." Her voice had an edge now. "Do you want eggs or not?" "I'm good." She turned off the burner and slid the eggs onto a plate. Sat down across from me at the scratched kitchen table. Picked up her fork, put it down again. "What's going on?" she asked. "Nothing's going on." "You're acting strange, asking weird questions." "Just wondering where you were." "I told you, work." "Right, work." We sat there in silence. She took a bite of eggs, chewed slowly, watching me. I kept my face blank, my hands relaxed on the table. The voice message was on my phone in my pocket, backed up in 3 different places, waiting. "I need to pick up Emma," she said finally. "I'll come with you." "You don't need to. I want to see my daughter." Something flickered across her face. Annoyance, maybe. Or calculation. "Fine, let me just change." She disappeared into the bedroom. I heard drawers opening, the closet door sliding. My laptop was still open on the table. I minimized the browser windows and opened a new tab, typed in the URL for our cell phone account. It took 30 seconds to log in, another minute to navigate to the call and text logs. I selected Bethany's number and downloaded the last 3 months of records. The file saved just as she came back out, wearing jeans and an old sweatshirt. The cream blouse was gone. "Ready?" she asked. We drove to her mother's house in silence. Bethany stared out the passenger window, her phone dark in her lap. I kept my eyes on the road, my mind on those call logs downloading to my laptop back home. Emma ran out the front door when we pulled up, her backpack bouncing on her shoulders. "Daddy!" I got out and caught her in a hug. She smelled like trampoline foam and fruit punch. "Hey, sweetheart, have fun?" "So much fun. Grandma let me do flips and we got ice cream and..." "That's great, baby." I set her down and she ran to the truck, climbing into the back seat. Bethany's mother appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Bethany said quickly. "Just picking her up." "You look tired, honey." "Long day at work." We drove home. Emma chattered about trampolines and ice cream flavors. Bethany said nothing. I made the appropriate responses to Emma's stories while my mind stayed on that voice message. He doesn't suspect anything. Past tense. Doesn't. Present tense. Which meant whatever she was planning, it was still happening. Still in motion. At home, I helped Emma with her bath and put her to bed. Read her 2 chapters of the book we'd been working through. Kissed her forehead and turned out the light. Bethany was already in bed when I came out, her back to my side, the covers pulled up to her shoulders. I went to the kitchen and opened my laptop. The call logs loaded. 3 months of data, every call and text, times and durations and numbers. It took me 15 minutes to find the pattern. One number appeared 63 times in 3 months. Never during work hours. Never on weekends when I was home. Always in the late afternoons or evenings. Calls ranging from 8 minutes to 47 minutes. I ran the number through a reverse lookup site. Patterson and Associates. Office line. I sat back in the chair. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Through the bedroom door, I could see Bethany's shape under the covers, motionless. 63 calls in 3 months. The voice message from Tuesday. The pharmacy trip on Wednesday. The new blouse and styled hair tonight. He doesn't suspect anything. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark kitchen, thinking about $4.7 million and what it could buy. What it could do. How it could change everything. My father had known something. That condition about separate accounts. He'd known. And now I knew too. The phone records told me when. The voice message told me why. But I still didn't know what. I sat in my truck outside the warehouse at 6 in the morning, staring at the spreadsheet I'd built. 3 months of patterns. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons mostly. Some Mondays. The calls always came from Patterson's office line, which meant either he was stupid or he thought office records were somehow safer than cell phones. They were both wrong about that. I'd called Patterson and Associates the day before, pretending to be interested in commercial property. The receptionist transferred me to Patterson's extension. I hung up as soon as I heard his voice. Smooth, confident, the kind of voice that sold million-dollar deals and probably worked just as well on married women. But that call gave me something useful. The office address. I clocked in at 7. Worked my shift. Came home at 3:30 to an empty house. Bethany had left a note on the scratched kitchen table. Picking up Emma, back by 5. Emma's school let out at 2:45. It was a 10-minute drive. I checked the tracking app I'd installed on Bethany's phone 2 days earlier. She'd been stationary at an address on Maple Street for the past 40 minutes. I pulled it up on Google Maps. A coffee shop called The Grind. I was there in 15 minutes. Her car sat in the lot, parked between a Honda and a pickup truck. I pulled into a spot 3 rows back, angled so I could see her driver's side door. 20 minutes later, she came out. Alone. She looked normal. Jeans, a light sweater, her purse over her shoulder. She got in her car and drove toward Emma's school. I followed at a distance. Watched her pull into the pickup line. Watched Emma climb into the back seat, blonde ponytail bouncing, backpack nearly as big as she was. They went home. I waited 5 minutes, then drove home myself. "Hey," Bethany said when I walked in. She was pulling chicken breasts from the refrigerator. Emma sat at the table with her homework spread out. "Hey," I kissed Emma on the top of her head. "How was school?" "Good. We learned about fractions." "Fractions are important." Bethany glanced at me. "You're home early." "Supervisor let us out. Slow day." She nodded, and turned back to the chicken. I went to the bedroom and checked the tracking app again. It showed her exact route. Home to the grind, to the school, to home. No detours, no stops at the Marriott. But it was Thursday. Thursday was usually a Marriott day, according to the phone records. I opened my laptop and logged into the recovery software. New deleted messages from today. 0. I checked her email next. The personal Gmail account she thought I didn't know about. One new message received at 2:17 p.m. from patterson.commercialagmail.com to bethany.mthompson@agmail.com. Subject, no subject. Can't do today. Client emergency. Tomorrow, same time. Her reply sent at 2:19 p.m. Okay, miss you. I read it 3 times. Then I checked tomorrow's date. Friday, April 14th. I went back to the kitchen. Bethany had the chicken in a pan, seasoning it with garlic powder and paprika. Emma was drawing pictures in the margins of her math worksheet. I need to run to the hardware store tomorrow afternoon, I said. Probably around 2. That work? Bethany didn't look up. Sure, I'll be here. You don't have any bookkeeping stuff? Not tomorrow, I nodded. Okay, just wanted to check. We ate dinner at 6. Chicken, rice, green beans from a can. Emma talked about a girl in her class who brought a hamster for show and tell. Bethany asked about my day. I gave her the same nothing answers I always did. After Emma went to bed, Bethany took a shower. I heard the water running while I sat on the couch, pretending to watch a basketball game I didn't care about. My phone sat on the coffee table. $4.7 million in an account she didn't know existed. The water shut off. 10 minutes later, she came out in pajama pants and a t-shirt, her hair wet and combed back. I'm tired, she said. Going to bed early. Okay. She kissed me on the cheek, the same cheek she'd kissed 1,000 times, the same lips that had kissed Patterson in a hotel parking lot. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close. Then I opened my laptop again and started planning. Friday morning, I called in sick. Told my supervisor I had a stomach thing. He wasn't happy about it, but I had enough sick days saved up that he couldn't say much. Bethany left for her bookkeeping job at 9. I watched her car disappear down the street, then checked the tracker. She went straight to the office where she actually worked, a small accounting firm that gave her 12 hours a week and paid her barely above minimum wage. I spent the morning at the public library, using their computers to research private investigators. I didn't need one exactly. I already had the evidence. But I wanted to know what they charged, what they offered, what a lawyer would expect to see. Most of them listed infidelity investigations right at the top of their services. Surveillance, photo documentation, detailed reports. Prices ranged from $1,500 to $5,000. I had $4.7 million. I could afford it. But I didn't need it. At 1 o'clock, I drove to the Marriott on Highway 40. Patterson's Mercedes wasn't there yet. I parked in the same spot I'd used before, backed into a space with a clear view of the entrance. At 1:47, Bethany's car pulled in. She parked near the lobby doors, checked her phone, fixed her hair in the rearview mirror. At 1:53, the Mercedes arrived. Patterson got out wearing khakis and a blue button-down shirt. No jacket today. He walked to Bethany's car. She got out. They kissed, longer this time, his hand on her lower back. I took 6 photos with my phone. They walked into the lobby together. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. The desk clerk was a different person from last time. A young guy, maybe 22, with gelled hair and a name tag that said Kevin. Help you? He asked. Yeah, my wife just checked in, but she forgot her medication in the car. What room is she in? Kevin looked uncertain. I'm not supposed to give out room numbers. I pulled out my wallet and set a 20 on the counter. She's blonde, about 5'6", just came in with a guy in a blue shirt. Kevin glanced at the 20, then at the computer screen, then at me. Room 318, he said quietly. I left the 20 and walked back to my truck. At 3:42, they came out separately. Bethany first, walking quickly to her car. Patterson 5 minutes later, checking his phone. I followed Bethany. She drove to Emma's school, got in the pickup line, collected our daughter like she'd done nothing more interesting than grocery shopping. I went home and waited. She walked in at 3:15 with Emma. Hey, she called out. We're home. How was bookkeeping? I asked from the couch. Fine. Boring. Just invoices and spreadsheets. I nodded. I got the stuff I needed from the hardware store. Good. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop while Bethany watched TV in the living room. I opened a new document and started typing. Timeline of evidence. 63 phone calls over 3 months. Recovered voice message. He doesn't suspect anything. Hotel meetings. Confirmed 4 times. Suspected dozens more. Deleted emails. Lies about whereabouts. I saved the document in a password-protected folder. Then I opened a browser and searched for divorce attorneys in the area. The first 3 websites all said the same thing. Document everything. Secure your assets. Don't let on that you know. I'd already done 2 out of 3. The third part was getting harder. I closed the laptop and walked into the living room. Bethany was watching some home renovation show, curled up on the couch with a blanket. I'm going to bed, I said. Okay, I'll be there soon. I lay in the dark, listening to the TV murmur through the wall. My phone was on the nightstand. In the morning, I'd start calling lawyers. But tonight, I just lay there, thinking about what Bethany had said in that voice message. He doesn't suspect anything. She was wrong about that. She'd been wrong for a while now. The voice message played on a loop in my head during the drive home. He doesn't suspect anything. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow was today now. Wednesday. Emma's school had early dismissal for teacher conferences. I pulled into the driveway at 7:15. Bethany's car sat in its usual spot. The kitchen light was on. She was making coffee when I walked in. Blue sweater, jeans, hair still damp from the shower. You're up early, she said. Couldn't sleep. She poured herself a cup. Didn't offer me one. I need to run some errands this afternoon, she said, after I pick up Emma from school. What kind of errands? Just stuff. Target, maybe the dry cleaners. I nodded, poured my own coffee. What time does Emma get out? 12:30. I'll probably be back around 3. 3 hours. That's what she was giving herself. Sounds good, I said. She left the kitchen. I heard her in the bedroom, opening drawers. I sat at the scratched table and opened my phone. The tracking app showed her location history from yesterday. Marriott on Highway 40, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Then a stop at the grocery store on the way home. Building her alibi with a receipt. The phone records showed 3 calls to Patterson yesterday. 1 at 9 in the morning. 1 at 1:15. 1 at 6:30, right before she told me she was going to the store. I took a screenshot of everything. Backed it up to 3 different cloud accounts. My phone buzzed. Email from Gerald Whitmore. Mr. Thompson. The funds have cleared. Full amount now available in your account. Please confirm receipt. Best regards, Gerald Whitmore, Escaris. $4.7 million. Sitting in an account Bethany didn't know existed. I confirmed receipt. Added Gerald's email to the evidence folder. Bethany came back into the kitchen, purse over her shoulder. I'm taking Emma to school, she said. Do you need anything? I'm good, she hesitated. You okay? You seem quiet. Just tired. You should take a nap or something. She touched my shoulder. Brief, automatic. I'll see you later. The door closed. Her car started. I watched through the window as she backed out. I waited 5 minutes. Then I opened the laptop. The divorce attorney I'd researched was named Victoria Lang. 15 years of family law experience. Office downtown. Reviews mentioned her as aggressive and thorough. One review said she'd destroyed the opposing counsel. That's what I needed. I called the number. A receptionist answered on the second ring. Lang and Associates. I need to schedule a consultation with Ms. Lang. Certainly. What is this regarding? Divorce. I see. Ms. Lang has an opening this Friday at 10. Would that work? That works. May I have your name? I gave it to her. She took my number and email address. Ms. Lang will send you a secure questionnaire before the appointment. Please fill it out completely. It helps her prepare. I will. And Mr. Thompson, please bring any documentation you have. Financial records, communications, anything relevant. I have documentation. Excellent. We'll see you Friday. I hung up. The questionnaire arrived in my email 6 minutes later. I spent the next hour filling it out. Date of marriage. Emma's birth date. Assets. Debts. The rental house. 2 cars, both paid off. My 401k from the warehouse. Bethany's part-time income. Then the section labeled grounds for divorce. I typed adultery. Wife is having an affair with a man named Patterson. I have phone records, emails, photographs, and tracking data. The affair has been ongoing for at least 3 months. The next section asked about separate assets. I typed recent inheritance of $4.7 million. Received after marriage but placed in a separate account per the terms of the inheritance. Wife is unaware of this inheritance. The questionnaire asked if I wanted primary custody. I checked yes. It asked if I had reason to believe my spouse was planning to leave or hide assets. I typed, I recovered a deleted voice message where my wife told her affair partner, "He doesn't suspect anything. See you tomorrow." This suggests planning beyond a simple affair. I submitted the questionnaire. The confirmation email said Ms. Lang would review it before our meeting. I closed the laptop. The tracking app showed Bethany at Emma's school. She'd be there for a while. Drop-off always involved talking to the other mothers. I went to the bedroom, opened Bethany's nightstand drawer. Her passport was there. I photographed it, checked the stamps. Nothing unusual. A trip to Mexico 2 years ago. Family vacation. I opened her jewelry box. The diamond earrings I'd bought her for our 5th anniversary. The necklace from our wedding. Everything's still there. I checked her closet, counted the hangers. 32 items. I took a photo so I'd know if anything disappeared. The bathroom next. Her birth control pills in the medicine cabinet. I photographed the date on the packet. She was taking them regularly. I went back to the kitchen. Opened the junk drawer where we kept important papers. Insurance documents. Emma's birth certificate. Our marriage license. I photographed everything. My phone buzzed. The tracking app. Bethany was leaving the school, heading toward downtown. Not toward home. I opened my laptop. Pulled up the live tracking. She was driving toward Patterson's office building. I grabbed my keys. The drive took 18 minutes. I parked 3 spaces down from her car in the lot behind Patterson and Associates. She was already inside. I waited. 11 minutes later, she came out. Patterson was with her. Navy suit. No tie. They stood by her car talking. He touched her arm. She laughed at something he said. Then he handed her something. An envelope. White. Letter-sized. She put it in her purse without opening it. They talked for another minute. He leaned in. Kissed her. Not a quick kiss. She kissed him back. Then she got in her car. He watched her drive away before going back inside. I followed her. She drove to the bank on Maple Street, parked, went inside. I couldn't follow her in there. Too risky. She was inside for 23 minutes. When she came out, she didn't have the envelope. I sat in my truck and thought about what that meant. Patterson had given her an envelope. She'd taken it to the bank, a bank where we didn't have an account. She was hiding money. The voice message made more sense now. He doesn't suspect anything. She wasn't just having an affair. She was preparing to leave, building a separate financial foundation, meeting with Patterson, taking envelopes to banks I didn't know about, and if I hadn't inherited $4.7 million, if I hadn't opened that separate account, if I'd put the money in our joint account like she probably expected, she would have taken half of it. My father's condition suddenly made perfect sense. The old man had known something, maybe not about Patterson specifically, but he'd known to protect the money from Bethany. I sat there in the parking lot and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not anymore. Something colder than that. Bethany drove to Target, spent 40 minutes inside, came out with 3 bags, building her alibi. She'd have receipts to show me. I drove home ahead of her, got there 10 minutes before she did. When she walked in at 2:15, I was on the couch watching television. "Hey," she said, "Target was crazy busy. Find everything you needed?" "Most of it." She set the bags down. "I'm going to start dinner soon. Emma will be hungry when she gets home." "Sounds good." She went to the bedroom. I heard her on the phone, voice too quiet to make out words. I pulled up the phone records on my laptop. Call to Patterson, started at 2:17, still ongoing. She talked for 8 minutes. When she came back to the kitchen, her face was flushed. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine, just warm." She opened the refrigerator, started pulling out ingredients for dinner. I watched her move around the kitchen. The same kitchen where we'd eaten breakfast that morning, where I'd drunk coffee while she lied about her errands. The same hands that had taken an envelope from Patterson, that had deposited it in a secret bank account. The same lips that had kissed him in the parking lot. "I'm going to pick up Emma," she said. "Be back in 20 minutes. Drive safe." She left. I opened my laptop and added everything to the evidence file. The tracking data showing her at Patterson's office. The timestamp of her bank visit. The phone call this afternoon. Friday, I'd meet with Victoria Lang. I'd show her everything. And then we'd see how much Bethany had really prepared, because she'd made one critical mistake. She'd assumed I suspected nothing. The consultation with Victoria Lang was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. I told my supervisor I had a dentist appointment. Her office occupied the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone downtown. No receptionist. She answered the door herself, late 40s, gray suit, reading glasses on a chain. The kind of woman who looked like she'd seen every variation of human betrayal and stopped being surprised around case number 50. "Mr. Thompson." She shook my hand once, firm. "Come in." Her office was smaller than I expected. 2 chairs, a desk covered in files, diplomas on the wall from schools I'd never heard of. A window overlooking the street where I'd parked 3 blocks away, just in case. She gestured to a chair. "You mentioned a custody matter on the phone. Tell me everything." I laid it out. The inheritance, the deleted message, the surveillance, the envelope, the secret bank account. I showed her the phone records, the photographs, the tracking data spreadsheet I'd compiled. She took notes in a leather portfolio. Didn't interrupt. When I finished, she set down her pen. "How much is the inheritance?" $4.7 million. Her expression didn't change. "And your wife doesn't know?" "No." "Good." She flipped back through her notes. "Washington is a community property state. Anything acquired during the marriage is split 50-50 in a divorce. But inheritances are separate property, provided they're kept separate. I opened a personal account. Only my name. Don't commingle the funds. Not a dollar. If you pay off joint debts or make joint purchases with that money, she can argue it became marital property. She looked up. Have you touched it yet? No. Keep it that way until this is resolved. She made another note. Now, the affair. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, which means adultery doesn't affect property division, but it absolutely matters for custody. I leaned forward. I want primary custody of my daughter. Based on what you've shown me, you have a strong case. She tapped the photographs. A parent who's prioritizing an extramarital relationship over family stability. Secret financial accounts suggesting preparation for abandonment. You have documentation of her absences, her lies to you about her whereabouts. Will it be enough? Courts care about the child's best interests. Stability, consistency. Which parent has been the primary caregiver? She paused. Who takes Emma to school? I do, most days. Doctor appointments? We both go when we can, but I've taken her alone more often. Parent-teacher conferences? Same. I go to all of them. Bethany comes when her schedule allows. Victoria made more notes. Good. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Document everything. Every school drop-off, every meal you make, every bedtime story. If she's absent, note it. If she's distracted, note it. What about the money she's hiding? That's trickier. She set down her pen. If she deposited money from Patterson, we need to establish what it was for. A gift? A loan? Payment for services? Each has different legal implications. The way she said services made my jaw tighten. I need to know which bank, I said. Do you have access to her phone? She keeps it locked now. Changed the passcode 2 weeks ago. Email. She uses webmail, logs out every time. Victoria leaned back. Then we wait for discovery. Once you file, we can subpoena her financial records. But that tips our hand. She'll know you know. How long until filing? I'd recommend waiting at least another month. Continue documenting. The longer the pattern of behavior, the stronger your case. She pulled a form from her desk drawer. In the meantime, I need you to fill out a financial declaration. List all assets, debts, income, everything. I took the form. What's your retainer? $10,000. That covers initial filing and basic discovery. If this goes to trial, we'll discuss additional fees. I thought about the $4.7 million sitting untouched in that account. I can get you a check by tomorrow. Personal account only, she said. Not joint. Understood. She stood. The meeting was over. One more thing, Mr. Thompson. From this point forward, you're building a case. Everything you do, everything you say to your wife, assume it will be examined in court. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Don't confront her about the affair. I won't. And don't make any large purchases or lifestyle changes. If you suddenly start spending the inheritance, her attorney will argue you've been hiding assets. I'll live exactly like I have been. She walked me to the door. I'll draft the initial paperwork. Call me if anything changes. If she mentions divorce, if she moves money, anything. I shook her hand again. Thank you. We're going to get you custody of your daughter, Mr. Thompson. Just stay the course. I stopped at the bank on the way back to work, wrote a check for $10,000 from the inheritance account. First time I'd touched the money. The number in my balance afterwards still looked unreal. Back at the warehouse, I clocked in 12 minutes late. My supervisor didn't notice. The afternoon crawled. I moved pallets, signed off on shipments, checked inventory. Normal work. Normal day. My phone stayed in my pocket. At 5:30, I drove home. Bethany's car was in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, I could see her at the stove. Emma's backpack hung on the chair. I sat in the truck for a moment. Building a case, Victoria had said. Everything examined in court. I got out, locked the truck, walked to the door. Hey, I called out. In here, Bethany said. The kitchen smelled like spaghetti sauce. Emma sat at the table with her homework. She looked up when I came in. Dad, can you help me with my math? After dinner, kiddo. I set my keys on the counter. How was school? Good. We did science. Mrs. Palmer showed us how plants drink water with food coloring. That sounds cool. Bethany stirred the sauce without looking at me. Dinner's almost ready. I'll wash up. In the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, same tired eyes, same person who'd stood in this spot 2 weeks ago, before the voicemail, before everything. Stay calm. Stay consistent. I washed my hands and went back to the kitchen. We ate dinner at the scratch table. Emma talked about school, about her friend Jessica's birthday party on Saturday, about the book she was reading. Bethany served the spaghetti, refilled Emma's water, asked the right questions at the right times. I watched her. The same hands that had accepted an envelope from Patterson. The same voice that had said, "He doesn't suspect anything." You okay? Bethany asked. I realized I'd been staring. Just tired, long day. You've seemed tired a lot lately. Busy at work. She twirled spaghetti on her fork. Maybe you should take a day off. Maybe. After dinner, I helped Emma with her math while Bethany cleaned the kitchen. Long division. Emma struggled with remainders, and I walked her through each problem. Does it have to be perfect? She asked. It has to be right, I said. That's different from perfect. She frowned at the worksheet. What if I make a mistake? Then you check your work and fix it. Bethany appeared in the doorway. Bath time, Emma. But I'm not done. You can finish after your bath. Come on. Emma trudged upstairs. I heard the water running, heard Bethany's voice through the ceiling, muffled and patient. I sat at the kitchen table with Emma's math homework. She'd gotten 6 out of 10 right. Not bad. She'd checked her work on 3 of the wrong ones, caught her mistakes, erased and corrected them. Check your work and fix it. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria Lang. Retainer received. We'll have initial documents ready for review next week. I deleted the text and cleared my recent calls. Bethany came back downstairs 20 minutes later. She wants you to read to her. Okay. Emma was in her pajamas, hair damp, sitting up in bed with a book. The one about the mouse detective, she said. I read 3 chapters. She fell asleep during the 4th, her breathing going slow and steady. I marked the page and set the book on her nightstand. Downstairs, Bethany sat on the couch with her laptop. She asleep? Yeah. I'm going to finish some work. There's a show you wanted to watch, right? I'll just read. I sat in the chair across from her. Opened a book I'd been working through for 2 months. Didn't read a word. Just turned pages at appropriate intervals while Bethany typed. Her phone sat face down on the couch cushion beside her. At 10:15, she closed her laptop. I'm going to bed. I'll be up soon. She paused at the stairs. Don't stay up too late. I won't. I listened to her footsteps overhead, the bathroom door closing, water running, the bedroom door closing. I waited 30 minutes. Then I went upstairs, brushed my teeth, changed into sleep clothes. Bethany lay on her side, facing away from me. Her breathing suggested sleep, but I couldn't be sure. I got into bed, stayed on my side, stared at the ceiling, building a case, one day at a time. One documented absence, one verified lie, one piece of evidence. The inheritance sat in its separate account, untouched except for Victoria Lang's retainer. Bethany's secret account sat somewhere, growing with Patterson's money. And I lay in the dark, counting the days until I had enough to take everything she thought she was hiding. "Stay the course," Victoria had said. I could do that. I was good at waiting. I sat in my truck outside Emma's school, engine off, watching parents stream toward the entrance. Tuesday afternoon pickup. Bethany usually handled this, but I'd texted her an hour ago saying I'd take care of it. "A meeting ran late," I'd said. She'd responded with a thumbs-up emoji. The phone call with Victoria Lang was still fresh in my mind. She'd been direct, clinical. Documentation looked solid. Timeline clear. The separate account for the inheritance was crucial. Showed intent to protect assets before discovery of the affair. In Missouri, adultery didn't automatically affect property division, but it could influence custody decisions, especially when combined with evidence of financial deception. "We file next week," she'd said. "Get everything in order. Make sure the inheritance deposit clears completely. Then we move." Next week. I watched a woman in yoga pants wrestle a car seat while talking on her phone. Normal life, regular problems. I'd been living in that world 3 weeks ago. My phone buzzed. Text from Bethany. "Can you grab milk on the way home?" I stared at the message. The casual domesticity of it. The assumption of continuity. She was planning something. The voice message made that clear. But she was still playing the role. Still pretending. "Sure," I typed back. The school doors opened. Kids poured out in clusters, backpacks bouncing. I spotted Emma's purple jacket, her blonde ponytail swinging as she talked to another girl. She saw my truck and waved, her face lighting up. That expression. That pure, uncomplicated happiness at seeing her father. I waved back. She climbed into the back seat, dumping her backpack on the floor. "You picked me up." "Mom had some errands," I said. "Thought I'd surprise you." "Can we get ice cream?" "It's Tuesday." So it's not ice cream day." She groaned, theatrical. "You and Mom have too many rules." I pulled out of the parking lot, joining the line of vehicles. "How was school?" "Fine. We did fractions. I hate fractions." "They get easier." "That's what Mom says." She kicked her feet against the seat. "Are you and Mom fighting?" My hands tightened on the wheel. "Why would you ask that?" "I don't know. You're both being weird." "Weird how?" She shrugged. "Just weird. Mom's on her phone a lot, and you're really quiet." I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. 7 years old, already picking up on the fault lines. "Everything's fine, sweetheart." That's what adults always say. Smart kid. Too smart. We drove in silence for a few minutes. I took the long route home, past the storage facility where I'd rented a unit 2 days ago. Victoria's suggestion. A place to secure documents, copies of everything. The original evidence stayed in my truck, in a fireproof lockbox bolted under the passenger seat. But copies went to the storage unit. Redundancy. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "If you and Mom did fight, would I have to choose?" My throat tightened. "Choose what?" "Who to live with." I pulled over, put the truck in park, turned to look at her. "Where's this coming from?" "Jesse's parents got divorced. She has to go back and forth. She says it's confusing." "Emma, I'm just asking." I unbuckled my seatbelt, twisted around to face her properly. "If anything ever happened, you'd never have to choose. You're not responsible for adult problems. You understand?" She nodded, but her eyes were uncertain. "I love you," I said. "That doesn't change. Ever." "I know." She picked at her backpack strap. "Can we get ice cream now?" I almost laughed. The whiplash of childhood logic. "Yeah, we can get ice cream." Her face brightened immediately. Crisis forgotten, or at least shelved. I pulled back onto the road, headed for the Dairy Queen on Elm. The whole time, my mind was working through the conversation. She was picking up on something. Kids always did. Which meant I needed to be more careful. Maintain the facade a little longer. One more week. At Dairy Queen, Emma ordered a chocolate-dipped cone. I got nothing, just watched her eat it at one of the outdoor tables. The afternoon sun was warm, unseasonably nice for late March. She chattered about school, about her friend's new puppy, about the book she was reading. Normal. Everything normal. My phone buzzed. I checked it reflexively. Email notification. From my bank. The inheritance deposit had fully cleared. All $4.7 million available and unrestricted. I stared at the screen. Dad, you okay? I looked up. Emma was watching me, chocolate on her chin. Yeah, just work stuff. I pocketed the phone. You got a little something right here. I pointed to my own chin. She wiped her face with a napkin, missed the spot entirely. Other side. She tried again, got it this time. We sat there for another 10 minutes while she finished the cone. I tried to focus on the moment, on her, but my mind kept drifting. The money was real now, fully accessible, which meant Victoria could file the papers, which meant the clock was really ticking. Ready to go? I asked. She nodded, tossing her napkin in the trash. We walked back to the truck. At home, Bethany's car was in the driveway. I felt that familiar tension in my shoulders, the one that appeared every time I saw her now. Emma bounded inside, calling out for her mother. I grabbed the milk from the passenger seat. I'd actually stopped and bought it, maintaining the pretense, and followed. Bethany was in the kitchen, laptop open on the table. She looked up when I entered, smiled. Hey, thanks for getting her. No problem. Emma was already upstairs, the sound of her footsteps overhead. How was your day? Bethany asked. Fine, busy. She nodded, turned back to her laptop. I could see the screen from where I stood. Email open. She was typing something but closed the window when she noticed me looking. Just work stuff, she said. Right. I put the milk in the refrigerator. Stood there for a moment, staring at the contents. Leftover takeout containers. A half-empty carton of orange juice. The mundane architecture of a shared life. I might have to work late tomorrow, Bethany said behind me. I closed the refrigerator door, turned to face her. Yeah? Month-end reconciliation. You know how it is. Sure. She was lying. I could see it in the way she didn't quite meet my eyes, in the casual tone that was trying too hard. I can handle dinner with Emma, I said. Thanks. She smiled again. You're the best. The same smile she'd given Patterson outside the Marriott. The same lips that had said, he doesn't suspect anything. I left the kitchen, went upstairs. In our bedroom, I stood at the window looking out at the street. A neighbor was mowing his lawn. Another was walking a dog. Regular suburban Tuesday. My phone buzzed again. Text from Victoria. Deposit cleared? Yes, I typed back. Good. I'll have the papers ready by Thursday. We'll file Monday morning. Monday morning, 5 days. I heard Bethany's footsteps on the stairs, moving toward Emma's room. Her voice, cheerful and warm, asking about school. Emma's response, animated and happy. The sound of a family. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in my hand. Pulled up the photos I'd taken. Bethany and Patterson at the restaurant. Bethany entering the Marriott. The envelope exchange. 63 documented phone calls. The recovered voice message, saved in 3 separate locations. Evidence. Cold, factual, irrefutable. I thought about my father's letter. Trust your instincts. He'd known something. Maybe not the specifics, but something. The separate account requirement wasn't random. It was protection. From my own wife. Bethany's laughter drifted down the hallway. Emma said something I couldn't make out. 5 more days of this. 5 more days of pretending everything was fine, of smiling and nodding and playing the role of unsuspecting husband. I could do 5 days. I'd already done 3 weeks. The papers hit Bethany at her work on Monday morning. I'd made sure of that. Victoria said serving her at the accounting office would establish a timeline, show she received them during business hours when she was clear-headed and capable of understanding what was happening. I took the day off, told my supervisor it was a family emergency. He didn't ask questions. Emma was at school. I dropped her off myself, kissed her forehead, told her I loved her. She'd run toward the building with her purple backpack, ponytail bouncing, completely unaware that her world was about to fracture. The call came at 10:47 a.m. "You bastard!" Bethany's voice was ice and fire simultaneously. "You absolute bastard." I was sitting in my truck outside a coffee shop 3 miles from home. I'd expected this call, prepared for it. "I want custody of Emma," I said. "That's all this is about." "That's all? You're taking everything." "I'm taking what's mine. The inheritance was separate property. You know that." Silence. Then, "You've been planning this?" "Yes." "For how long? Does it matter?" More silence. I could hear her breathing, sharp and quick. "I'll fight you," she said. "You think you can just take my daughter. Our daughter. And I have documentation, Bethany. All of it." "Documentation of what?" I let the question hang there. Let her wonder what I knew, what I'd found. "We should talk," she said finally. Her voice had changed. Calculating now. "Face to face, without lawyers." "No. Please. For Emma's sake. Everything goes through Victoria Lang now. You have her contact information." I hung up. My hands were steady. That surprised me. 3 weeks ago, I'd been shaking in a Walmart parking lot, listening to a voicemail about my father's death. Now I felt calm. Clear. The phone rang again. I declined the call. It rang 4 more times over the next hour. I declined them all. At 2:30, I picked Emma up from school. She climbed into the truck, her face bright. "Can Jesse come over this weekend?" "We'll see, sweetheart." That means no. It means we'll see. She chattered about her day while I drove. I took her to the house, our house, though I'd already started looking at apartments. Victoria said I should stay put until the custody hearing, maintain stability. But I'd need somewhere to go eventually. Bethany's car wasn't in the driveway. I'd expected that. She was probably with Patterson or with a lawyer of her own, or sitting somewhere trying to figure out her next move. I made Emma a snack, helped her with homework. At 5:30, Bethany's car pulled up. She came through the door like a storm, her face blotchy and red. But she stopped when she saw Emma at the kitchen table. "Hey, baby." Her voice shifted, softened. "How was school?" "Good. Dad's helping me with fractions." Bethany's eyes found mine. The hatred there was pure and undiluted. "Emma, go upstairs and play for a bit," I said. "Your mom and I need to talk." "But I'm not done. Now, please." Something in my tone made her obey. She gathered her papers and headed upstairs, glancing back once with worried eyes. When her door closed, Bethany spoke. "You planned this, the whole time?" "Yes." "The inheritance, when did you get it?" 3 weeks ago." Her face went pale. "You've been lying to me for 3 weeks." The irony was so thick I almost laughed. Almost. "I know about Patterson," I said. She froze. "What?" "I know about the affair, the hotel meetings, the phone calls, the money he's been giving you." I pulled out my phone, opened the evidence folder. I have 63 documented calls, photos of you at the Marriott, the voice message you thought you deleted. Her mouth opened, closed. "You were spying on me." "I was protecting my daughter." "By spying, you were planning to leave." I kept my voice level. "The secret bank account, the envelope from Patterson. You were building an exit strategy. That's not... She stopped. Recalculated. Even if I was, you can't take Emma from me. No judge will... Read the filing. Victoria included everything. The affair, the lies about your whereabouts, the financial deception, the voice message where you said I didn't suspect anything. Her face crumpled. You recorded me? You recorded yourself. I just recovered it. She sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. This isn't happening. It is. I'm her mother. And I'm her father. The father who takes her to school every morning, who helps with homework, who shows up to parent-teacher conferences. I pocketed my phone. You were too busy with Patterson to notice, but I documented all of it. She looked up at me, mascara smudged under her eyes. I love her. I know you do. That's not enough. What do you want? Primary custody. You can have visitation. Supervised at first, then we'll see. Supervised? Her voice cracked. You're treating me like I'm dangerous. You were planning to take her. Probably move in with Patterson. Uproot her entire life. I leaned against the counter. I'm giving you more than you were going to give me. She stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the man she'd married, the one who worked at a warehouse and lived paycheck to paycheck and didn't ask questions, was gone. I made a mistake, she whispered. People make mistakes. 63 phone calls isn't a mistake. It's a choice. I was lonely. You were always working, always tired. Don't. I held up a hand. Don't make this about me. You made your choices. Now live with them. She stood abruptly. I need to talk to Emma. You can say goodnight. That's it. You can't stop me from talking to my daughter. Read the temporary orders, Bethany. Victoria got an emergency hearing this afternoon. Until the custody evaluation is complete, your contact is limited. Her face went white. You got a judge to... I showed the judge everything. The affair. The secret account. The evidence that you were preparing to leave. I moved toward the stairs. You have 10 minutes with Emma. Then you need to go. Go where? This is my house. It's a rental. And according to the temporary orders, I have exclusive use pending the hearing. She looked around the kitchen like she was seeing it for the first time. The scratched table, the cheap cabinets, the life we'd built together, disassembled in a single day. I'll fight this, she said. I'll get my own lawyer. You should. That's your right. I started up the stairs. 10 minutes. I heard her follow me. Heard her knock on Emma's door. Heard Emma's bright voice saying, Mom. I went to the bedroom and started packing Bethany's things. Clothes in a suitcase. Toiletries in a bag. I worked methodically, without emotion. This was just a task. Just something that needed doing. When I came back downstairs 20 minutes later, Bethany was sitting on the couch, crying. Emma was back in her room. Here, I set the suitcase by the door. I'll pack the rest later. You can pick it up this weekend. She looked at the suitcase. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Please. She stood, wiping her eyes. Can we just talk about this? Really talk? No. I made a mistake. I'll end it with him. We can go to counseling, for Emma's sake. You don't get to use Emma as leverage, not anymore. She flinched. I'm not. You are. You were planning to take her away from me, to build a new life with Patterson and his money. I opened the front door. Now you get to figure out your life alone. She picked up the suitcase, her hands shaking. Stood in the doorway looking back at the house. I do love her, she said quietly. Whatever you think of me, I love our daughter. Then you'll cooperate with the custody evaluation. You'll follow the court orders. You'll put her first. I held the door. Can you do that? She didn't answer. Just walked to her car, put the suitcase in the trunk, drove away. I closed the door. Stood in the quiet house. Upstairs, I could hear Emma playing, humming something to herself. My phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. How did it go? She's gone, I typed back. Good. Custody evaluation starts next week. Keep documenting everything. Every interaction, every call, every visit. I pocketed the phone and went upstairs. Emma's door was open. She was sitting on her bed, holding a stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 3. Is Mom coming back? She asked. I sat down beside her. Not tonight? Are you and Mom getting divorced? No point in lying. She'd figure it out soon enough. Yeah, sweetheart, we are. Her eyes filled with tears. Is it because of me? No, I pulled her close. This has nothing to do with you. This is about grown-up stuff. Stuff that went wrong between your mom and me. But I'll still see her? Of course. She's still your mom. That doesn't change. She cried against my shoulder, her small body shaking. I held her and let her cry, stroking her hair, murmuring the useless, comforting words parents always say. When she finally quieted, I helped her get ready for bed. Read her 3 chapters instead of 2. Stayed until she fell asleep, her hand clutching the stuffed rabbit. Downstairs, I sat at the scratched kitchen table with my laptop. Opened the evidence folder one last time, reviewing everything. The photos. The phone records. The voice message. The tracking data. 3 weeks of documentation. 3 weeks of living a double life, pretending everything was fine while building a case against my own wife. I thought about my father. About his letter, his warning, his insistence on the separate account. He'd known something was off about Bethany. Maybe he'd seen it at the wedding, or during one of our rare visits. Maybe he just had good instincts. Trust your instincts, he'd written. I had, and they'd been right. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. Bethany, probably using Patterson's phone. Or maybe Patterson himself. I blocked the number and set my phone aside. The custody evaluation took 6 weeks. A court-appointed psychologist interviewed both of us separately, then together, then with Emma. She toured my apartment. I'd moved into a 2-bedroom place near Emma's school. She toured wherever Bethany was staying. She reviewed the documentation Victoria provided. Bethany hired a lawyer. A good one, apparently. He tried to argue that the affair was irrelevant, that I'd violated Bethany's privacy by tracking her phone, that my sudden wealth made me an unreliable custodian. Victoria destroyed every argument methodically. The affair was relevant because it showed poor judgment and prioritization. The phone tracking was legal. I'd paid the bill. I had the right to access the records. The inheritance was separate property, properly maintained, and demonstrated financial stability rather than instability. Emma spent the weeks bouncing between us. Supervised visits with Bethany at first, then unsupervised. Bethany rented an apartment 10 minutes away. She showed up on time, followed the rules, played the part of the reformed mother. But Emma came back from those visits quiet, withdrawn. Mom keeps crying, she told me one night. She says she misses me. I'm sure she does. She says you took me away from her. I set down the dish I was washing. What do you think? Emma was quiet for a long moment. I think you're both sad, and I don't know how to fix it. It's not your job to fix it, sweetheart. Then whose job is it? Mine and your mom's, and we're working on it. She didn't look convinced, but she nodded and went back to her homework. The final custody hearing was on a Wednesday in late May. Victoria and I sat on one side of the courtroom. Bethany and her lawyer sat on the other. The psychologist presented her findings. Primary custody recommended for the father. The mother had engaged in behavior that prioritized an extramarital relationship over family stability. The father had demonstrated consistent, reliable caregiving. The child expressed comfort and security in the father's home. Bethany's lawyer argued. pointed out that she'd ended the affair, that she'd complied with all court orders, that she was Emma's mother and deserved equal time. The judge listened, asked questions, reviewed the evidence, then ruled. Primary physical custody to me. Bethany would have Emma every other weekend and one evening per week. Child support based on her income. Division of property according to state law. The inheritance remained separate. Everything else split 50-50. Bethany's face crumpled. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm. The judge continued. The custody arrangement would be reviewed in 1 year. If Bethany maintained stability and compliance, modifications could be considered. Court adjourned. Victoria shook my hand. You did good. Stay consistent, and in a year, this will all be routine. I nodded. Across the courtroom, Bethany was crying into her lawyer's shoulder. I felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just a hollow awareness that this was done. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my apartment, making Emma's lunch for school. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, a granola bar. The same lunch I made every day. The inheritance sat in its account, still mostly untouched. I'd used some to pay Victoria's fees, some to furnish the apartment, some to set up a college fund for Emma. The rest just sat there, a number on a screen. I'd quit the warehouse job, started the cabinet-making business I'd always talked about. It was small, just me and one employee, but it was mine. I worked from a rented shop space, built custom pieces for people who actually appreciated craftsmanship. Emma adjusted. Slowly. She saw Bethany on the court-ordered schedule. Sometimes she came back happy. Sometimes she came back quiet. I never asked what they talked about. That was between them. Bethany and Patterson broke up 3 months after the divorce finalized. I heard it through Emma, who mentioned offhandedly that Mom's friend doesn't come around anymore. I didn't ask about that either. The divorce taught me something I should have known already. People aren't who you think they are. They're who they show you when the pressure's on, when the comfortable lies fall away. Bethany had shown me who she was. Someone who could plan an exit while kissing me goodnight, who could build a secret life while sitting at our kitchen table. And I'd shown her who I was too. Someone who could document betrayal with the same methodical care I used to inventory warehouse stock. Someone who could separate emotion from strategy when my daughter's future was at stake. Neither of us was the person we'd been when we got married. Maybe that was the real problem. We'd grown into different people, wanted different things, and instead of admitting it, we just kept playing our roles until everything collapsed. Emma came into the kitchen, backpack already on her shoulders. Ready? Lunch is on the counter. She grabbed it, shoved it in her backpack. Jesse's birthday party is Saturday. I remember. I'll drop you off at 2. Can I stay overnight? Her mom said it's okay. Sure, she smiled. The same bright, uncomplicated smile from before. Kids were resilient. The therapist had said that, and it turned out to be true. Emma had adapted to the new normal. 2 homes, 2 bedrooms, a schedule on the refrigerator showing which parent she'd be with each day. We drove to school. I watched her run toward the building, purple backpack bouncing. She turned at the door and waved. I waved back. Then I drove to my shop, unlocked the door, and got to work on a custom bookshelf someone had commissioned. Cherry wood, dovetail joints, the kind of piece that would last generations. The inheritance had bought me freedom, from the warehouse, from financial stress, from the constant low-level anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck. But it hadn't bought happiness. That wasn't something money could do. Happiness came from the small things. Emma's laugh when I made a stupid joke. The satisfaction of a joint that fit perfectly. The quiet of my apartment at night, free from tension and lies. I'd won, in the legal sense. Primary custody. Financial independence. The life I'd built on my own terms. But winning felt different than I'd expected. less triumphant, more like survival. My father had protected me with that separate account requirement. He'd known something, sensed something, and he'd acted on it. In the end, his final gift wasn't the money itself. It was the wisdom to keep it separate, to trust my instincts, to protect what mattered. And what mattered was Emma. Everything else, the marriage, the betrayal, the money, the legal battles, was just noise. I thought about Bethany sometimes, wondered if she was happy, if she regretted her choices, if she'd found whatever she'd been looking for with Patterson. But those thoughts came less frequently now. She was Emma's mother, and we'd learned to coexist in that space. Polite exchanges at pickup, brief texts about schedule changes, the machinery of co-parenting, stripped of everything personal. It was enough. The bookshelf took shape under my hands. Precise cuts, careful assembly, each piece fitting exactly where it should. That's what I'd learned. You can't control other people. You can't make them be who you need them to be. All you can do is protect yourself, protect the people who depend on you, and build something solid from whatever materials you have. I'd started with betrayal and a bank account. I'd built a new life. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was mine. And that, in the end, was enough.